Good afternoon. I'm here to have a discussion with this nice gentleman. He was kind enough to come to our TV show. His name is Attorney McMahon.
McMahon, yes. Jay McMahon.
Yeah, Jay.
Gino, you can call me Jay.
Thank you, sir. Okay. I just wanted to ask you, because you had never run before in politics, right?
I ran for state representative about 20 years ago on Cape Cod.
Okay. So you got your feet wet.
Yeah, oh yeah, a little bit.
Okay. So what I'm going to ask you is, tell me the story why you wanted to be Attorney General of Massachusetts, because I think you're too sincere. Just tell me a story.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm kind of a news junkie. I watch the news all the time. I channel surf through the news. I watch the Boston local news. I watch the international news. So I'm always watching the news. And in this particular case, the Attorney General, I've been watching this particular office. Now, I got to tell you, I wasn't always planning to run for Attorney General. It wasn't like I was looking for the situation to arise. But as time went on, Maura Healey became the Attorney General 3 years ago. Nobody knew who she was. Right. She worked for the Attorney General's office for a few years before she ran. And the reason she ran, it was an open seat because her boss, Martha Coakley, ran for governor against Charlie Baker.
Correct.
And she lost. So I've been watching the race, if you will, and I noticed as we started for the last 3 years, as she started in as Attorney General, she's made some pretty outrageous decisions and has done pretty outrageous things that really affect the fundamental rights of the citizens of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And as I began to watch her, I noticed that she had a very far left-wing agenda. And so I started watching that, and I was thinking, you know, the Republicans have a good chance to really to win this seat from her the next time around, because she is so far to the left that even some of the Democrats are disgusted with her. So I was looking and waiting to see who would run against her as a Republican. Because, Gino, to be fair, we can do so much better here in Massachusetts than what Maura Healey has been doing. Maura Healey is not really being an Attorney General. She is being a political activist. And so I saw that, and I was hoping that some articulate Republican candidate would rise. No one coming from anywhere. I got my ear to the ground. I'm reading the newspapers. I'm checking in with all over the state. No Republican has shown an interest. So I thought to myself, well, I could clearly do a better job. And I started thinking how much it pays, how much I'm making, and I'm thinking, all right, so I'm going to take a pay cut in this. So I talked it over with my wife. I talked it over with some friends, and they said, you're the guy for the job. You should do it. I asked my wife if she would be with me in this. She said she would. Now I got to tell you some of the issues that really make me want to run. And this is what this is the key thing. The opiate crisis.
Yes.
Massachusetts has an opiate crisis that shows no signs of abating. In fact, since Maura Healey has been with the Attorney General's office, deaths by opiate addiction in Massachusetts have quadrupled. Unbelievable.
Many people die.
People are dying all over. There's not a family in the Commonwealth that has not been touched by this curse. So because I know that, including my own family, I've lost my oldest son to the opiate crisis.
Oh, no.
Well, I'll tell you a little bit how that happened. My son Joel was in the United States Army 2003. Oh. He was part of Iraqi freedom. He was one of the first troops to enter Baghdad. A couple of weeks later, he's on a night mission, and one of his jobs was to guard a particular piece of equipment, him and two other guys. The front line was only about 1,000 yards away. the rear guys were coming up and they were going to grab this piece of equipment and take it to the front. So Joel and his buddies are guarding it, and all of a sudden the front is calling for it. We need it now, we need it now, we're taking fire, we need that thing. So Joel asked the other guys, when are you coming? And they said, we can't be there before 15 minutes. So he relayed that, and the front says, we need that now. So Joel and his two buddies said, all right, look, we'll get it there. We'll carry it, drag it, whatever. They ruined their backs.
Oh,
they couldn't get, they were under enemy fire, but they weren't hurt by enemy fire. They were hurt by dragging and lifting and pulling this thing.
Yeah.
Well, they couldn't fix it. So the military, he wanted to make the Army his career, and he couldn't, they told him his back made him unfit for duty. So they discharged him to the VA, and the VA treated it with OxyContin. And we all know the bad news from then on. So they tried to dial it back. They didn't put any of these guys through a program, and most of these guys made it up on the black market with heroin and fentanyl. And then they die. So, the opiate crisis. I looked at it carefully. I looked at what the parameters were out there, and I'll tell you why this problem is not getting better. Because no prominent government official is running point on it. Everybody is ducking it and saying we're going to get more money for it, but nobody is looking at the problem. So I started analyzing and looking at the problem, and I'll tell you what. On the campaign trail, I announced a year ago that I was running for this office. On the campaign trail, I've met with parenting support groups, other couples, other parents who have lost children to the opiate crisis, or children who are trapped in the opiate crisis. And I met with 50 couples, so there's 100 people, and I was sitting in a room, and they came out to hear what I said I was going to do about the opiate crisis, and it was like a horseshoe-shaped room. Where these people were. And so I started talking to the people, and I said, how many here have had loved ones that have gone through the program, say, at about 5 times? Nobody raised a hand. I said, how about 8 times? Nobody raised a hand. So I said, how about a dozen or more? Everybody raised their hands. Wow. So I went around the room. I said, how many times? Somebody says 15. How many? 18. How many? 20. How many? 22. How many? 30. And this one's a failure as well. I said, how do you know that? Wow. And he says, because it's the same program, and my daughter is working as hard as she can. She's really trying to kick this thing, and it's not going to work. We can tell it's not going to work. So I said to everybody, I said, why do you subject your children to these programs if you know they're failing? And I had a guy stand up with tears in his eyes, said, we've got no place else to go. Wow. So Gino, that's the government-sponsored programs. They're a failure. So they're a 99% failure. So if you sign up for a government program, in all likelihood, you're going to fail. So I'm talking about that on the campaign trail, and I'm talking about how we can do so much better. We've got to do so much better than this. We are Massachusetts. We're the medical capital of the world. Presidents, prime ministers, kings and queens from all over the globe. They don't go to their capital city. They come here, and they get their blood disorders, their heart ailments, their cancers all cured here in Massachusetts. So why can't we cure this? So I'm knocking that out. I'm talking about it. I'm going at it. I'm in Brockton. Big meeting in Brockton at a hotel in Brockton. And I'm banging away at this thing. And some guy happened to be walking by. The guy comes up and he stops and he listens to me. He hears what I'm saying and he finds out who I am, and I'm running for Attorney General. And he comes up to me and he says, Mr. McMahon, I hear what you're saying about the opiate crisis and everything. He says, you're absolutely right, but I know a little something about this. Any chance I can meet with you? Because I had a whole line of people come, and he goes, you know, I can't do this in 5-10 minutes. And I said, okay. So I had him make an appointment in my office in the next week. He comes in to see me. He comes in at 11. I figured it'd be a 1-hour meet and greet.
All day.
At 6 o'clock that evening, we're still talking, right? He happened to be the #1 board-certified opiate rehabilitation physician in the country. Just happened to be there. And he goes, "You are on to something." And I said, "Well, Doc, let's sit down. Let's have a discussion." So we start talking about the opiate crisis. I says, I said, does the government know that their programs are 99% failure? He says, "Of course they do." I said, "How long have they known this?" He said, "About 10 years. Now, Gino, think of that. For a decade, they know there's been a failure, and they've done nothing about it. They just throw more money at it. So I said to the doctor, I says, "Well, is this the best we can do in Massachusetts?" He goes, "Well, wait a minute." I said, "That was a government-sponsored program, not our programs. Our programs are private pay. You got to pay for the program. If you pay cash or whatever for the program, you got to pay out because the insurers don't want to pay for it." He says, "So if you want to pay us, we have an 87% success rate." I said, "Well, wait a minute. Doc, how can you say 87%? I said, "That's pretty precise. I mean, if you said better than 50%, if you said we're up around 90%, I would say, hey, well, that's pretty good." But he said 87. I said, "How can you be so precise?" He says, "Because we track them." I said, "Well, how do you measure success?" "Go through our program, 5 years out, no relapse."
I can't believe it.
I said to myself, "Why aren't we doing it?" He goes, they won't pay for the program. They'd rather pay for the failed one, even if a guy goes through it 30 times, than to pay for an 87% one. So I got a little sarcastic with the doc, and I said, "What about the other 13%? He goes, "We recycle them through one more time, and they become part of the 87.
Wow.
So here's the terrible truth. Massachusetts has the know-how, the technology, and the means to give people their lives back. We're not paying for it, so nobody's getting it done, but we can do it." Now, I hear a lot of people say, like if you see, read in the paper, disabled American vet sitting on a park bench, needle in his arm. The only thing that kept him from here and going to the eternity is that some first responder got him and hit him with Narcan and brought him back. Okay? People say, "Well, that guy on the bench, I mean, he made bad choices. Look at him there." No, he didn't make bad choices. And you know something? I don't care if they did make bad choices. The point is, we can get them out of there. We can rescue them and give them their lives back.
They're human beings. Yeah,
They're human beings.
Yes.
People are saying, "Well, how many times should we hit them with Narcan?" Well, until we get them in a successful program, every time they overdose. We're not going to just let them die. But here's the tragedy. We need someone in government who's going to take and slam this thing through. Guess what? I'm that guy. I will slam this program through. I will investigate the failed programs, make them give back money to the taxpayers, and invest in real programs where the opiate addicts only have to go through one time and we can give them their lives back. This is not a dream. This is reality and can happen now. But we need someone to bang it forth, and I'm the guy. Now, so I said to my physician, if they've known this for 10 years, why haven't they done anything about it? Why do they continue doing this? He says to me, and it's almost a line out of the movies, he said, "You want the truth?" I said, "Of course I want the truth." There's money to be made in failed opiate rehabilitation. So you know something? I'm going to end that. I'm going to end that. On day one, I'm going to end that. I'm going to launch an investigation, and if they knew that their programs were a failure for 10 years, I'm going to make them give the money back to the taxpayers because they've done nothing. They're just recycling people. We can beat this.
Yes, you can.
Okay, so you said, why did I run? The opiate crisis. But you know, that's only one part of it.
Oh, yeah.
The second part is this. A lot of people are saying, they said, well, Maura Healey, well, she's going to sue the pharmaceutical companies. Okay, well, let me say this. I agree that the pharmaceutical companies were pushing doctors to use their products, just like everybody else on the face of the earth is trying to push certain professionals, certain individuals, certain salesmen, certain contractors with their products. So I agree that if they got too aggressive, there should be a reason. For instance, if a doctor prescribes 100 prescriptions of a certain opiate within a month, he gets a vacation or something like that, so there's an incentive for him to push it instead of the care of his patient, well, then we'll investigate that for sure. But here's the dirty little secret. Opiate addicts in Massachusetts, 80% of them die from fentanyl and heroin.
Oh, wow.
80% of them. That means 4 out of 5 are dying from heroin and fentanyl, not from prescription drugs. So, heroin and fentanyl is not manufactured here in Massachusetts or New England. Heroin comes from Taliban, Afghanistan, and fentanyl comes from China. They both come across the porous Mexican border. That's why Trump wants to build the wall. He wants to stop the drugs. We do get a lot of the drugs coming across, a lot of the shipments coming across. Yeah. We do intercede them. But I'll tell you what, we only get about 50%, and the cartels know they can make money on the other 50%. So Trump knows that if he builds that wall, he's going to stop the flow of drugs or certainly impede it greatly. And as a collateral effect, is going to control illegal immigration. So that's some of the things that Trump wants to do, because the feds know how that stuff is getting here in Massachusetts. Okay, so that's all well and good. Maura Healey will not work with the feds. She is operating her office right now like Massachusetts was a sanctuary state.
No kidding.
She won't deal with the feds. So, everybody that's watching this now and listening, most of you are federal taxpayers. This should be insulting to you, because we are paying for those federal law enforcement assets. But because she would rather shield illegal aliens as a sanctuary state, she will not cooperate with the feds. Now, you would think that anybody, the top law enforcement official in Massachusetts, should be having joint federal state task forces to dry up the source of heroin and fentanyl. Not happening.
So you be the one that...
I'm going to do it. I am going to say to I'm going to go visit them, apologize for the rudeness from our state, and say, listen, let's work together. Let's go and make a huge impact on that trade. So, successful and effective rehabilitation, that way you end the customers of the purveyors of this poison. Effectively drying up the source by aggressively stopping the flow into Massachusetts. And my third point is extreme prosecution. In other words, if you're going to sell that poison in this state, we will prosecute you to the max. If I can tie the defendant to the drugs, I'm going to take it to a jury any day. I don't need to sell that case off or deal it away on a suspended sentence. We will go for the full 15 years. Because, Gino, this is what you need to do. Right now, this judge in Salem, you heard about that.
Yes.
Can I tell you something? The Salem police did everything right in that case.
Wow.
They caught the guy. They got a search warrant.
Yeah.
They searched his car.
Yeah.
They got 40 bags of heroin.
Wow.
This Judge Feely said to the defendant at his sentencing...
He's a nice gentleman.
He said it was an economic crime. Well, so isn't bank robbery, but you don't give that a pass.
We do economic, but we don't go and steal.
They said, the judge told this guy, if you were an American citizen, I'd have sent you to jail. So the message that's being sent in Massachusetts is, come on in here on a green card,
you can do that.
sell this poison, and you'll get a pass. That's the wrong message. The message I'm going to send is if you come into Massachusetts and start selling this poison to our children,
You go to jail.
you're going to go to jail, you're going to be deported afterwards, and we're going to chase you all the way down anywhere we can find you in the state. And if we got the goods, we'll turn it over to the feds so they'll catch you in other states. We are going to send the message. Massachusetts is no longer open for business to these purveyors of poison.
You work with the governor, you'll be okay. Also, you can work with Rotary. I'm a Rotarian for 25 years.
There you go.
And I give the opiates pamphlets, 17,000 to the children in school. 17,000 out of my own pocket.
Wow.
So they can give it to their parents, so they can read, so they can get some assistance. The Rotary likes to help.
Yeah.
Rotary will work with you. Rotary will work with you.
I'll work with them too.
Yes.
I'll tell you what, I could, we were talking earlier before the show started. I can tell you this, Gino, I can work with just about anyone.
No, you can. I can see that.
Anybody that wants to roll their sleeves up and say, let's tackle this crisis, because it is a crisis. Let's end it.
Yes.
How can we really go all the way to the end? Somebody said, well, there used to be a war on drugs. You and I know, Gino, they rolled up that white flag a long time ago and surrendered and said, forget it, because the 20, 30 years ago, every once in a while you hear about heroin. Now it's flowing in the streets. We've got to go after it aggressively, and I will do it through extreme prosecution.
You will. I just came out of the hospital a couple of weeks ago, and the doctor gave my wife a prescription because I was out of it. I just came out of it. I have kidney stone. My doctor says, you know something, Gino? You look like a bull because you have no pain, but you might have pain. So I'm going to give a prescription to your wife. So when I came out of it, I said, honey, what kind of prescription did he give us? He said, I think what he meant is, Gino, that you might be able to take, if it's very painful for you, after you go through a kidney stone, you lose blood.
Right.
He described opiates. I said, honey, we go for the visit next week. I'm going to have a X-ray. You give the doctor back the prescription because I will not take any opiates. I will suffer. Whatever I have, it will go away. 2 weeks went by and I feel better.
Good.
So and everybody, whoever listens to this program, he gets so excited that I feel sorry because I don't want him to get a heart attack. He speaks from his heart. I mean, if anybody is any intelligence enough in this particular area, follow his notion. Follow his notion. He speaks the truth. Try to stay away from that. That is like an evil medicine. Stay away from it. I can tell you, I went through pain, and I didn't take anything. 1 aspirin. I took 1 aspirin. You do the same, and you will see you minimize your debts. Now, this gentleman is running for for Massachusetts as state attorney.
Yeah, Attorney General.
Attorney General, and he's doing the best way to protect you people. See if you can be kind enough. I mean, I had to stop him because I get so emotional, and he almost make me cry. I mean, I can't understand. I am here to help him, and I want you to help him. See if you can give your vote. He needs your vote. I will take him to different TV station because I want him to be speaking the same way he spoke here so people will understand. He's speaking for you. So my name is Gino Fralone. His name, he told me I can call him J. Attorney McMahon. He doesn't have a romantic name like Gino Fralone, you know. I'm from Venice, Italy. But he is very pleasant gentleman, very sincere, and whatever he will do for you, he will do for your own good. Thank you so much for coming.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gino.
God bless you.
God bless you, my friend.